Afternoon to all of you. Myself, Dr. Vikas Gupta. I welcome you all for the guest lecture on role of material science in protection of environment against corona infection. I am grateful to IFTM University administration, especially Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Registrar of the University for allowing us to organize this guest lecture by Professor M.G.H. Zadi, GB Pant University, Pantnagar. Professor Zaidi is a physical chemist and is expertise of material science. Professor Zaidi guided more than 30 PhD, several patents, and more than 150 publications. He has received several awards, honored as member of editorial boards of various reputed journals and fellow societies. His biography is listed in Mercurius Who's Who in Science and Engineering USA. The aim of the
आज वाले
guest
मेरी
lecture
इमेज नहीं दिखाई दे रही, कैसे आएगी? यहाँ मेरी इमेज नहीं
is
आ
to
रही है।
share and promote the creative ideas against coronavirus infection. We are organizing the guest lecture with an effort for fruitful discussion and to spare awareness about material science in protection of environment against corona infection. Once again, I welcome you all and inviting Professor M.G.H. Zadi for the lecture. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Please, Jayadi,
Thank you, Dr. Vikas
Professor
Gupta.
Jayadi, start. Ji, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas Gupta. This is my pleasure that I have been invited to deliver a talk on role of material science in protection of mankind and society against infection of coronavirus. Naturally, we all over the world, all mankind over the from primary pandemic disease of coronavirus. This is needless to explain or to state that this disease is a simple thing. This is a disease that have been by mankind over the past. My purpose of this talk is actually to aware the people about the fundamental principles of virology, what is the structure and size of the virus with the system, as well as what kind of preventive measures are required to save the mankind against coronavirus. Moreover, we cannot ignore the role of material science as this is the only science which is being highly oldest in nature, and man was doing material science since inception of his life from caves. We have started producing materials by many ways, and we have defined our life in terms of various type of ages, just like stone age, then metallic ages where brass age, and then iron age, and then finally we are in the age of steel around some 1839, and then we are now at present in the age of high strength or high performance materials or advanced materials. Naturally, as the society is going on and population is going to rise, problems are coming in the society. So day by day, we are also in position to improve ourselves in terms of technology and science, and ultimately we have find the solution of many problems in the past, and definitely we will also find some problem to combat against coronavirus in the future. There is no need to think that coronavirus is a highly disastrous disease or it cannot be controlled. We from India and across the world, many of the intelligent people are working for this problem to rectify the life of the human being and to grant to allow human being to live in a cozy and comfortable and healthy life. So here this lecture is actually based on some important aspects of virus. Basically, virology is a very old subject, and this subject was actually initiated by Dr. Ivanovsky in 1832, and according to him, virus is actually the smallest infection or infecting agent that reproduce itself inside the cells of living host. An infected host cell rapidly produce multiple replica of the original virus. This is what we know: when multiple replica of the original virus is produced, ultimately the rate of infection is going to rise, and that ultimately impose negative effect on the human health. A viral disease is actually of two types. First kind of viral disease is basically of I have to shift this. First kind of viral disease is defined as epidemic. This is a disease that occur in one community at particular time. Second kind of viral disease is pandemic. This disease means the disease that is spread across the continent. If you see the structure of the virus is basically a nanometric size biological object which is biologically named as viron. Viron is a simple system of the virus which is having the size of 20 to 300 nanometers. This is composed of a, a genome chain, and that is surrounded with a capsid. Capsid is a protein or capsomer, and this is capsomer is supported with some enzyme, and all the system is enclosed in a system which is called envelope. Envelope is just like a protein, and you know that viruses are of type A and type B. Type A virus is basically the virus which is produced. Coronavirus, I am talking about coronavirus. Type A virus, type A form of coronavirus is the virus that actually um, comes from animals, and type B is the virus that actually comes from human being. So type A virus is spreading corona across the world by 30%. The virus which is being secreted from the virology center of the Wuhan in mid of December was actually the virus of type B, that is across the whole universe in a very deadly manner, and it is it is claiming the human life of millions and millions. This is the virus B, which is actually produced synthetically in the laboratory. So type A is actually the natural coronavirus, and type B is actually the synthetic coronavirus, which is being generated through some biology of mutations, some combination of proteins, some combination of DNA in various arrangements, and that arrangement are being decided by 16S RNA or gene sequencing or DNA sequencing, what biologists do. You see that coronavirus is of course a very deadly problem, it is a very deadly disease, but it is not a very surprising. Why? Because before this coronavirus, society has suffered around some past 10 deadliest virus diseases that emerged before coronavirus. Anthony plague was very much oldest viral disease that was around 165 in Domini. It was actually hit the Roman Empire and claimed 5 million death of people. And nowadays this Anthony plague is actually recognized in the form of smallpox or measles. So measles, the problem of measles is somewhat some 165 AD back, and still in many part of the villages where there is no medical facility in India, people simply, particularly small child down to 6 years of age, are highly prone to smallpox and measles. So this is the oldest one. Second one is the plague of Justinian. That was actually around some 541 to 542, and it was a pandemic that was very much hitting to Byzantine Empire, Mediterranean Sea, and affected some 25 people, and have told to that to many people. Black Death is the viral disease that was around some 1346 to 53, and that has claimed some 200 million deaths. Fourth kind of the deadliest disease was the third cholera. This was spread in India around 1852 and claimed 1 million deaths across the world. It was spreaded from India. It was initiated from India and hit over the world and claimed some 1 million people. Flu, we all people know, even an illiterate person who is wandering on the road he also knows that what is the flu, and many of us are badly affected by flu. And flu is the oldest disease that was emerging in Russia in the form of H3N9 types of virus, and it has claimed around 1 million deaths over North of Russia. And sixth one is the sixth cholera that was originated from India and then spread over Middle East and North Africa, Europe and Russia, and has claimed 8 million deaths, around 190 to 1911. Spanish flu is again a viral disease that is being initiated by H1N1 type of virus. It is a deadliest pandemic and claims some 50 million of people around Spanish region. Asian flu was emerged in 1957 as avian influenza and claimed 2 million deaths. Hong Kong flu, it was hitting Asia, subtype of Asia and Northern Asia in the form of H3N2 virus, and it was a pandemic and claimed around 0.5 million of deaths. Some 50,000 people were claimed to death by this virus around some 1968. Then HIV/AIDS. This is a very recent deadly disease that is spread over Republic of Congo, and this disease is obviously, we know that it is a sexually transmitted pandemic disease, and right now it has claimed some 35 million people to death. So these are all what the 10 kind of diseases that are highly disastrous and highly deadliest diseases that mankind has suffered already. Coronavirus is in the same sequence of disease, and this was supposed to appear from Wuhan, China, and is the pandemic and is claimed around 3,331 lives in China right now. However, I have gone through some literature and some information systems where I found that coronavirus is not the disease which is very much specific to China. It was appearing in Middle East in animals and buffaloes around some 1968. And before 1968, in 1960, virus was badly affected the Prime Minister of London, Boris Johnson. And I will show you the later slide, and I will give you some important slide. I will show you some important slide and show you a lady, very brilliant lady that was actually the pioneer in discovery of the virus that is affecting nowadays to human being. Ladies have a very much significant contribution in science, and maximum contributions are due to ladies. God has created a very intelligent creation. Got amazed when I studied that Dr. John and Dr. June Almeida from Scotland has discovered this kind of virus, and she is the lady that actually used electron microscope at first time in biomedical science, because electron microscope was discovered in 1930s. So first time she has used electron microscope to investigate the colony of the coronavirus. See here how this virus spreads. This virus spreads. Many people are well known about this slide, and they are very much well aware. Just I am giving this slide to have a supplement that the subject in the form of presentation is complete. So any infected man or infected individual who is sneezing or doing activities release droplets to environment, and the droplets of size of some 5 micrometer diameter, and it travels to some around 1 meter. So if anybody is sneezing or anybody is doing like activities, so we have to maintain the distance of at least 1 meter from him or her. And then this droplets becomes transformed into some aerosol mode, and it spreads in the form of the droplet nuclei, and that is of less than 5 micrometer diameter and travel to more than 1 meter. So if a person sneezes, then then the droplets which are produced are at the vicinity of around 1 meter, and later on it spreads to more than 1 meter. Then it becomes airborne, and when it becomes airborne, it spreads entire the system, entire the environment, and that makes in direct contact with human being, or in indirect contact with hands, or indirect contact with some other for example clothing, or for example through seating or through other environmental object. So this is what a very important point that people has to know. And we have to be aware that when we are sitting elsewhere, or when we are in a meeting or a gathering or something like that, we have to keep the distance. What Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji says, that we have to maintain the distance of at least 2 gaz, is a very brilliant idea for society to prevent us from the disease of the coronavirus. See what I was telling you about the lady. This was the woman who was first discovered human coronavirus. This is the news from BBC Scotland News of 15th April 2020 by Blackhurst. This lady is Dr. June Almeida, and she was born in 1930 in Glasgow near Alexandria Park, and then she left school at 16 and became histopathologist in Glasgow Royal Infirmary. She then moved to Thomas Hospital in London, and then worked with Dr. Tyrrell, who was the co-inventor of this virus, along with Dr. Junel Media. And she worked with Dr. Tyrrell in 1960, and then she was the first lady who has investigated the structure or morphology of human coronavirus using electron microscope. You know, electron microscope was discovered around 1930. The main prawn sites through which coronavirus enters into the human body is a nasal cavity, and then mouth, and then eyes. What happened when terrestrial cultures are being isolated from the air canal of the human being, and then they are revived, and then finally they are visualized over electron microscope, and microscope provides the information of this particular type of colonies of the virus. See here what the virus that comes in the picture as identical type of colony, identical type of morphology as appearing in this picture, in this picture of electron microscopy. See, this is a droplet central part of the virus connected with so many small sites. So these small sites are basically the sites that are responsible for spreading the virus. These are the reactive sites, and the picture is coming in the people domain, having virus with some side chains. So here in this microscopic image, you can observe that there is some multiple number of side chains. These side chains are responsible for viral disease, and ultimately these are actually the protein chains that actually are highly susceptible, or highly compatible with human being, and ultimately it goes into the human system, and finally it multiplies and multiplies, and then whole of the system, the whole of the human being become in trouble with trouble due to cough, due to headache, due to some other type of symptoms that are being actually used in coronavirus. So coronavirus globally confirmed the cases of 49,66,080. This is the data that I have collected in the late night, around some 2:30 a.m. And after that, when I switch over to internet, I found that within 1 hour this data was 49,69,000. Within 1 hour, although I have not quoted because I have prepared my slide, and I didn't like to again change. And then I think that this is a fast growing disease. Within a 1 hour, some more than 1,000 people were confirmed, and some death of some 100 people were increased. This is the data, that is 3,23,629 deaths. Now after 1 hour it was 3,24,000. So within some 1 hour, around 1,000 deaths were told, and almost recoveries are around 20 lakhs. And you see here that if you have a view over India and the progress of the coronavirus in our nation, from 15 February to 1 March it is, and from 2 March onwards there were 6 cases up to 3rd March. On 3rd March 7 cases were produced. Then on 4th March, steadily cases were raised from 7 to 29. From 5th March to 26th March, the cases were 727. From 27 to 31st March, cases were 887 to 1397. And from 1st April to 30 April, cases were raised to 34,863. And finally, up to 18th May, the recent date, we have crossed to the 1 million. Now, speculation was the similar type that coronavirus 19 could peak in India by the mid-May. So this is what we believe, that above 1 lakh is the peak of the coronavirus. Now, if you go over the death from 15 to 11 May, although there were some 20 patients of the coronavirus, but there was no death. From 12 March, only 1 death was claimed, and 13 to 16 March, 2 deaths were claimed per day. From 17 to 18th March, almost 3 deaths were claimed, and from 19 to 18th May, the claim of the 4th death was raised to 3,156. What the data I have received is actually from the link that is being provided at the downside of this slide of the PowerPoint. Basically, we know that washing, sanitization, covering mouth, covering our face with face mask. We have to avoid many things. We have to keep distance, and we have to be under the state of isolation. These are the 5 important points that nowadays all of the people of the nation knows. Just I have given this to complete this discussion. Materials are the part and parcel of our life. No society can lead without materials, and human being has discovered materials, and this is the oldest science that is propagated in the nature since inception of the life of human being. Polymers are the materials that were first introduced by Leo Baekeland in the form of the bakelite. Prior to this, cellophane membrane was first discovered by John Wesley Hart in 1868. At that time, John Wesley was suffering, was observing this that people were producing cellophane from the intestine of the animal. They were killing a lot of wild elephants to produce the polymer, which is nowadays in the form of the cellophane. So John Wesley Hart was a chemist, and he was a thinker, and then he developed celluloid. Celluloid is a polymer that is being produced from interaction of camphor with cotton. So he mixed camphor with cotton and produced a similar kind of material, which is nowadays known as a celluloid. The same features as the material of polymer, which is being isolated from the intestine of the elephant. So this was a very interesting history of the polymer science, and later on polymer science became very much progressive, and nowadays became the part and parcel of the human being. What is important here, that since we are crossing the population of 1.4 million, and now but entire universe is badly suffering from population explosion, and there is no control over population. Those countries who are trying their best to control our population are still not much in position to control effectively. So ultimately, viral disease is spreading entire the world. It is spreading across the world. Ultimately, prevention is also necessary to save the mankind. And nowadays, if you purchase a IR thermometer, it is costing from 3,000 rupees to 25,000 rupees. So for a human being, for a simple man, for a poor person of the developing nation, he or she cannot afford 3,000 rupees to purchase infrared thermometer, or see gloves, or PPE kits, or some other protective measures. They are very much costly. So I would like to address to those who are from industries and are connected in this meeting. They have to think some way to produce the protective measures at a very low cost. We can go through recycling, because waste plastic is very much prone in our environment, and that is also spoiling our ecology, our ecosystem. So if we go through recycling of the waste plastic, and then we modify till it to be just like a virgin plastic through proper procedures, and then we modify this, we transform or fabricate this PPE kits, or into gloves, or into spectacles for poor people, then this will be the great service of the nation. Because we are nowadays suffering from financial crunch, and within this scenario, we have to make India to be self-sustaining and highly energetic, and to have a good place in the whole of the world, because money is a very important matter, and we are suffering from lack of money. So we have to think over such kind of measures, such kind of processes. We chemists, engineers, we biologists, even social science people, even statisticians, and many of us should come across to resolve this problem. And material science people have a very, very important role in this scenario. They can do well, and they can produce low cost fibers and plastics that has to be lightweight, obviously biodegradable, because after use man will try to replace the PPE kits or alike objects. So it should be biodegradable, it should be radiation stable, it should be thermal and flame resistance. One of my colleague in Lucknow has recently suffered an accident. There was a time of the night in his house, and power was off, power was failed, and he was having two kids, one boy and a girl. His name is Dr. Abhinav Gupta. He has came to India from University of Texas Austin due to this coronavirus problem. He was having a spray, this is what we say, that sanitization spray. And his two child were pair of child were playing with sanitizer, and since light was not in his house, they were lighting the candle. What happened, that sanitizer was over candle. It was, and was by 30% of the body. Why? Because this is a sanitizer, or this type of liquid objects are highly flammable. Isopropyl alcohol, ethanol is highly flammable. Moreover, they are in some combination with sodium hypochlorite. Sodium hypochlorite is good for as a disinfectant, but it is at the same side it is toxic, because when it will interact with the burning skin, ultimately it create a lot of trouble of itching and many things like that. So this is a very important way to think, that we have to develop such kind of sanitizers. Mostly the sanitizers will be of biological or natural origin, so that people should not be much affected from negative effect of sanitizers. And we are in need of miniaturized IR thermometers, viral detection systems, RNA sensors. Till date, there is no RNA sensor. We chemistry people, people of electrochemistry, people of electronics, engineers, and many of technocrats should come across to develop some RNA sensor. Why? Because this coronavirus is basically a RNA chain. RNA chain is coupled with some genome, with some other type of biological macromolecules. So till date, this is surprising that we are not having a very systematized device that could check the virus from the into the throat of the human being. You know, we are nowadays fighting to arrange the testing kits, and South Africa says China has given them some 3 lakhs kit fake. India says that the kits are not working. So why these kits are highly disastrous and highly costly. If we think over development of a sensor system, that is just like a pen or just like a pencil torch, and just we put up the throat into the air canal of the human system, into the nasal part of the human system. Ultimately, it will give us a very good, like a pen type pH meter or pen type conductivity meter. So this is a very important way that we can think. I have a plan to develop this kind of device through utilizing some materials that I cannot disclose, but this is quite possible because I have made such kind of sensors for detection of urea, for various biomolecules. Recently, we have published one paper of detection, one paper regarding development of some material as a sensor for detection of cholesterol and detection of sugar. So similar type of experiments can be made and can be onwards executed for development of RNA sensor. But for that particular type of sensor, that is RNA sensor, we have to be a very sound knowledge of material science. What material can do, how material is made to be conductive, and what type of conductive channels can be developed in material, what kind of sensing sites are available in RNA, and how these sensing sites interact with material for electrical or electron transport system that will constitute the sensing mechanism. So this is a very important way. Moreover, material selection is a very important aspect of development of these PPE kits or sensors or clinical aids or thermometers. Commonly, polymeric materials are very much versatile. They can be transformed into compressed molds or shapes, as well as into thin films, into thin laminates or packaging. So, common polymeric materials that may be utilized for this particular kind of cause or a particular kind of are which are highly, and see the spectacle which is appearing in the picture is actually either made up of polycarbonate or polymethyl methacrylate, which is perspex or synthetic plexiglass. So these are very transparent and very much sturdy materials. However, some scratch problem is with PMMA or polycarbonate that can be rectified through surface finishing with some allyl compounds. That is a job of the chemist or polymer scientist. That is not a very problematic thing, because nowadays we are having scratch resistant transparent polymers also. For example, in Titan watches, the windows are scratch resistant. We are come across these type of materials, and these materials are in now public domain. In the same way, polypropylenes, polystyrenes, and polyethylene of high grade low density polyethylene, high density polyethylene, or cross-linked polyethylene, or ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Many type of plastics are there. Orlon, polyvinyl chlorides, polycarbonates, polyesters, polyacetyl resins, and there are numerous type of, more than what I know, because as a polymer science, as an expert of polymer science, I know that in our domain there are some more than 1,000 type of polymers, and their interlinked derivatives are available that are in practice. The society is using such kind of materials. So we can utilize such kind of materials which must be a low cost and should produce reusable articles, because money is a very crucial matter in our nation. Disposable articles are not suitable for poor people. A poor person cannot afford too much disposable articles. So this should be a everlasting and lifetime saving up to prolonged period of time, and I should save for long. But there is a big challenge in utilizing polymers in development of this kind of devices. Why? Because see here, I have a data from some recently published research paper in Journal of Hospital Infection, volume 104, 2020, pages 246 to 251. This is the paper which is published in 2020 recently, uh, in some couple of months back. See, this paper says that steel is prone to coronavirus, and coronavirus sustains over steel up to 48 hours. We nowadays are using cutlery sets and kitchenwares. We take food in steel plates. We drink water in steel made glasses. See, steel has persistence of virus up to 48 hours. And moreover, some steels are prone to virus up to 8 to 24 hours, or 28 days, or 3 to 48 days, or see here 28 days, some 96 hours. So this is what a very troublesome problem to use steel in this arena of coronavirus, in this disaster of coronavirus. Once we are using steel plates, we have to properly sanitize the plates prior to use. To sanitize this, we have to do our routine practice of keeping this steel plate into some warm water, some lukewarm water. If you have some sort of alum, you put some sort of, because alum is not a poisonous, we can take alum. So ultimately we have to kill the infection by anyhow. So what I think, that what is my suggestion, that before using steel plate or even aluminum, or even some sort of melamine plates also, uh, or even some glass plate, because coronavirus also persists over glass. See here, in the third point, coronavirus is persisting over glass up to 4 days. So glass, steel, or melamine, or plastics, or some alike type of objects, we have to properly sterilize and sanitize before transforming food into these kind of objects. We have to sanitize through, or we have to sterilize these kind of things through placing it into lukewarm water, and finally wash it with some sort of alums or some sort of disinfectant, or curcumin. Curcumin is also very good antiviral and disinfectant. Curcumin is a extract of haldi. So this is available in market, and a good yellow colored substance. So you add some sort of curcumin in water and then sanitize it, then this will also be okay, what I think. Because this will be a very good to utilize the sanitized cutlery sets prior to transforming food. Wood is the part and parcel of our life. Every house, every residential activity leads through wood. Wood is a furniture material. Wood is a material that sometimes our small kids use in the form of toys, toys which are made up of wood. So wood is also very much prone to coronavirus, and virus stands over the wood over 4 days. And paper, without paper, we cannot lead our life. Nowadays, our administration is continuously directing that we have to create a paper. In this arena of this, within this pandemic situation, this will be wise to utilize less and less paper. Why? Because if we are using papers, ultimately virus will colonize over the paper, and ultimately it will spread to community. So if we are properly sanitizing our fooding objects, our glass make materials, steel make materials, plastics, and paper, then ultimately this will be very much helpful in preventing coronavirus as a community spread. This is nowadays a big challenge to society, and society is due to we people. Society is not due to politicians. Politicians are just the guiders. They will tell you what we have to do. But if we will not be interested to do anything, then ultimately our nation will be failed. So in order to keep this nation to be successful or in a successful mode, we are in need of such kind of advices, and we have to follow all that thing. Even we, coronavirus is also very much persisting and very much prone to PVC, which is a very much important component for construction of shoals. Once we are coming from outside, we are wearing slipper, we are wearing shoe, we are wearing shoes, where PVC soles are there. Ultimately, when anybody has mischievous activity through spitting or through some other thing, then ultimately virus will come through the shoes in the form of PVC invasion into our family. Ultimately, whole of the family may be affected. So this is a very important. That is why PVC 5 days. Coronavirus stands for PVC 5. Silicon rubber, and silicon tubing are very important. Many of our cooker gaskets are made up of silicone rubber. Why this silicone rubber? Why silicone rubber has a standing of virus? 5 days are too much. So if using and we are not using a gasket of the pressure cooker for 5 days, ultimately this is quite possible that coronavirus may has to colonize over this across this silicone rubber. So if you are using a pressure cooker gasket, after some period of time, say 3 to 4 days, ultimately be cautious and sanitize it, or boil or warm it into lukewarm water, clean it, and then you use into the pressure cooker. Why? Because this will be very disastrous. In the same way, disposable gowns. Disposable gowns are mostly prepared of some low-grade polyethylene. Over that, coronavirus stands over 2 days, or some 24 hours, or to some extent it is up to 1 hour. Ceramic materials. Ceramic materials means bone china. We are very much fond of bone china. You come to my house, my wife will give you a very good kind of coffee, and we enjoy coffee in bone china. See, bone china is highly prone to coronavirus, and virus stands at 21 degrees centigrade over 5 days. So prior to using ceramic materials, or you say Teflon. Teflon is nowadays a very much important material that is used for non-stick kitchenwares. Over Teflon, coronavirus stands over 5 days. So this is a very interesting to note, that when we are using Teflon kitchenwares or kitchenwares with coating of Teflon, we have to sanitize it properly. Why? Because without which this will spread in our community. See, these are some common chemicals which are used as a sanitizer, and their power of sanitization is mentioned as a reduction in viral infectivity in the log 10 scale. At the last but one last column of this slide, ethanol has ineffectivity of 5.5 standard at 30 seconds. When you expose any object with ethanol, 95% of ethanol, then 5.5 days, 85% of ethanol, then 5.5 standard, then 80% of ethanol is sanitization by 4.3 standard. In the same way, 70% is sanitizing the surface by 3.9 standard. 2-propanol. Although ethanol is very costly, most of the ethanol is coming as a cheap ethanol from China. This is a very problematic situation, that we people in India are preparing ethanol from sugar. Sugar is a very costly, and even poor people are not much accessibility of sugar because of the high cost. So China is manufacturing ethanol from biodegradation and fermentation of cellulosic material, because they have a neighboring country, Taiwan, where water level is at high stage. So they grow poplar and a like type of trees, and through that trees they isolate fibers, and fiber means they isolate polysaccharides, long chain cellulosic or long chain polysaccharide chain, and then allow them to disintegrate into smaller oligomeric systems, and then finally they subject to fermentation, and through fermentation they prepare bioethanol. In India, we are having a strategy of bioethanol over only on papers. Some DST and many biotechnology organization has granted too much funds to Indian scientists, but still they are not even to prepare bioethanol in a very high industrial quantities. So we have to think over how to prepare bioethanol. Those who are listening, people who are listening and are industrialists should try to have a rapport with some chemistry people, some chemical engineers, some mechanical and production engineering people. They can come across with industrialists, and they can do much for this kind of costly chemicals, because we should think that if we are very much dependent on China, this is not a good situation for nation. Why not we should think for our own industries. We have a lot of brain, we have a lot of people who are very much interested in doing jobs. India is a very good nation, and every Indian want a job, every Indian want to do something. Like, this situation is very much far different from America. In America or in Europe, people doesn't want to do much work. A few people are there good, but majority wants to enjoy in Denmark or in Russia and everything. But India, we are laborious people. Our our tendency of labor is a registered trademark to other nations, and we Indian receive a lot of appreciation by European and by other nation people, that Indians are very much intelligent and laborious. So we are laborious and we are intelligent. Why not we think to initiate or to initiate the good things, to rectify the problems of our nation through propagating industrialization, through propagating scientific and academic activities. Many people in India are publishing good research papers. There was a time where we were not having the patent. Now India has even I have 65 patents. Some sound is creating problem. So propionic acid or propanol and benzene conium chloride, these are also the additives that are very much used for killing of coronavirus. And this is quaternary ammonium salt, dimethyl ammonium chloride, chlorohexidine, and some digluconate. These are very much used for killing of infection against coronavirus. Sodium hypochlorite is nowadays used for all spray sanitizer. We see that our government is doing sanitization through spraying of some liquid materials through pipe. This is actually what this is, sodium hypochlorite with some trace of alcohol and some trace of propanol and something, but majority is sodium hypochlorite is highly soluble in water and is stable in water at ambient conditions. Whenever we heat sodium hypochlorite by 45 to 50 degrees centigrade, it is disintegrated into sodium hydroxide and chlorine. That is another issue. But cold conditions under ambient temperatures and 25 to 30 degrees centigrade or some down to 25, sodium hypochlorite is a very excellent disinfectant. This disinfectant was actually used primarily around the period of the Second World War, and since that this material has proven its very strong potential of disinfections against many of the viruses, including coronavirus. See, hydrogen peroxide and formaldehyde and glutaraldehyde and many of povidone iodine, these are also very much known for killing infection against coronavirus. So they have a strong potential to kill coronavirus, starting from 4.4 to some more than 5.0 standard. We can enhance through judicious combination of this type of antiviral materials which are being listed in this table. I have given this table. Why? because to communicate to industrialists that this is the list through which we strategy how how we can utilizing coronavirus. That is why I have shared this. So in the same way, ethanol and some other chemicals are also mentioned here. They are also very much sensitive towards killing of coronavirus, and their concentrations are also given some 50 microliter or some other 20 microliter. So these are all what the data that I have shared to society through this nice platform of IFTM University. That people should know how we can share our knowledge to society, because we are the oldest culture and oldest civilization over the world, and we should come across to lead the science. Last night I was on TV, I was watching TV, and what I have seen that some brilliant scientist from IIT Delhi has made collaboration with the Japanese, and they were propagating the ashwagandha for combating against coronavirus. So there are many type of herbs which are being used for this kind of creation, for prevention of this kind of infection. I have requested to Dr. Vikas Gupta to organize a lecture of very much intelligent professor from Patliputra University, Dr. Shirin Masood, and I have assisted her, and she is on the way to have a very good literature of herbal medicines and herbal plants, how these plants can be useful for mankind in combating against coronavirus. Because naturally we have to come very much closer to nature to save our life. Nature has given us a lot of things, and we are not said. We say Vedic medicine or something is very good. We don't say that this is bad. Some people, I mostly prefer Unani and Ayurvedic medicine. I least prefer allopathic medicine, but it doesn't mean that allopathic medicine or allopathic system is not. It is good, it is working, it is more efficient. But compatibility of human being is very much high with Ayurvedic and Unani system, our natural herbal system. So if we switch to our daily life to herbal and Unani system, then this will be far and far better to save our life and to be in cozy and comfortable environment. See, there are many herbs which are very much antiviral and immune booster. What is the problem? Coronavirus really attack on a man which is having some weak immune system or immune response, as well as has not much level of antioxidant. Two things are very important. We have to consume much and much antioxidant, and we have to consume much and much such kind of things which are antiviral in nature. So why? Because these two combinations are very much important. And you believe that scientists working over entire world are including India. Everybody, I am a man of material science. I have never studied virology, but this coronavirus has bound me to study virology. I have given first kind of lecture where first kind of thing related to virus through this lecture first time. Why? Because we are the masters of science. We are not chemists or physicists. Dr. Vikas Gupta is a very good chemist, but he is the chemist. But again, he is not the chemist as well full, but he is a master of science. So in the same way, those who are listening, don't think that we are the physicists or we are chemists or we are biologists, we are electrical engineer. We cannot understand virology or chemistry. God has given us a very good brain. Why? This good brain is only the copyright of human being. Just like I say, the copyright of human being. This good brain is not available in animals. We think, we have to plan, we have to make the strategy, we have to fight the problem. And biologists cannot do material science, or material scientists cannot understand biology. I have given you the lecture, I have given you the description of the virus, how virus propagates, what is the colony of the virus, how virus is structured. Why? I am the chemist. I have never studied biology even from 10th standard. I was a student of technical art at 10th standard, a student of physics and mathematics at 12th, and then physical chemist at MSc level, and then BSc I have done with physics, chemistry, and maths. I have never studied, but you feel if you go through Google Scholar, you will find my most of the paper in biological science. I have studied too much taxonomy, too much virology, too much microbiology, biochemistry, biological stress, then plant stress, everything I have studied. So what is here that we don't restrict us in a particular class of the domain. Once we have a master of science, we have to come across to other people. We have to collaborate, particularly industrialists and academicians has this kind of responsibility, because the time has came that our nation is in trouble with this virus, and day by day death claims are increasing, but we cannot stop our work. We have to come on the road, we have to go to our offices. The students should come to school, colleges, doctors should come to hospitals, should go to court to resolve the pending cases. And there are many things. Shopkeepers has to open the shop to supply the amenities or daily using items to society, as well as to purchase, to pull up their shop. But through this epidemic situation, if we will be feared, then we will not be survived. We don't fear. We have to make some sort of protocols. We have to follow some sort of protocol, social distancing, protection and prevention, and so many things that we know well now, because this is a matter of discussion since from last December, last 31st December, when Wuhan was the first epidemic center, first pandemic center of coronavirus. So what is here that what I would like to address at this final conclusion, that this is a epidemic now, and moreover more pandemic, because it is spreading across continents. And we intellectual people, physicists, chemists, scientists, biologists, engineers, whatever we are, we have to discuss and to resolve the issues. We have to share our knowledge with the academicians and with moreover industrialists of this ArcelorMittal, top leader of this nation and one of the world renowned economist, renowned millionaire of the world. He's from India, and many are like that. I'm not giving Ambani Group, and there are many good. These are very sound economists and sound industrialists, and they know how to launch the product in the market. So what is here that we should come across to discuss the matter. And then some over two months back, Bharati Shikshan Mandal at Nagpur was going to organize a meeting on this kind of pandemic, but due to, I was also having planned to attend that, but due to some this pandemic situation, what happened, we are not able to fly. Then ultimately that meeting was actually postponed, and nowadays we are waiting, because at that time whole of the Indian scientists are planning to connect to Nagpur, and they may be collecting at some site, and then we will be on the way to discuss how to unite the intellectuals of the India, whether they are from any discipline, to combat this problem of coronavirus. So I hope now I have to leave some time for questionnaire, and those who are interested in question that may ask question. Prior to asking question, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thank to Vice Chancellor of IFTM University, and those who are working with this organization of this webinar, of this seminar, online seminar, who are also has to be appreciated, and they are appreciated. Why? Because they are doing this kind of meeting for a noble cause, especially my good friend Dr. Vikas Gupta, who is now appearing on the screen. And those intellectual people who are listening and who are connected with this webinar, especially some of my PhD students like Ajay Tiwari will be listening, and he is very bright, and Pragati Joshi and Dr. Samina Mehta, Shri Masood. So many of my students are on the line, and I would like to thank you all for listening me, and I would be highly, delighted if you may ask some question, for possible question, and I would like to answer. So in this way, I would like to stop, and then I will wait for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have some
Thank you.
limitation. We have some
Yeah,
limited time. Anyone can ask to sir. We have only 5 to 10 minutes for this. Please ask, unmute yourself and ask to sir.
yeah. This is good. Hello.
Anybody want to ask something? Can ask. Unmute yourself and ask.
No. No, chat.
Please ask one by one.
Yeah. Yeah, your time is limited. You please come. Yeah.
Hello.
Which material is best for the food items?
Hello.
Which material is best for the using food items?
Yeah. I have left this point. Actually, you have raised a very good question. Coronavirus is highly prone to spongy foods like bread, buns, and cake. So, so this is what the way we cannot sanitize these kind of things with chemical isopropyl alcohol or ethanol. Only we can warm up these kind of things, and then we can take. Moreover, we have to use these kind of things when we purchase. We check that this is properly packed or not. If there is any leakage or any site where through which it can be entered, then ultimately dispose of this and don't purchase. But you know that virus is very much sensitive to, very much prone to porous materials like bread and
Now, one question is there, on which metal virus alive for smallest time?
on which metal.
Which metal virus
I
alive for
know.
smallest time?
No. Virus doesn't alive for smallest time. You know, virus actually in search of food, and food is coming from metal. Free surface of the metal where some free atoms of the metals are there. Metal comes to the surface of steel through corrosion. Saline water interacts with steel or something. Ultimately, a thin passive layer of corrosive scale is developed over all kind of metals. Whether good quality of steel has a very thin film. If you visualize through atomic force microscopy, you can simply observe that even a good quality also has surface that is tarnished with some corrosive substance. So we cannot very much claim that which kind of metal has very least colonization of virus. So a thumb rule, we would believe that all metals have some sort of colonization of virus. That is why I told you that when you are using metals as a cutlery item, you properly sanitize it through putting it into lukewarm water or treat it with some sort of alum or curcumin or something. Next question.
Hello.
Whether we should use.
Hello.
Yeah, please. Yeah, hello. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
please ask
please,
the
please.
question.
Sir. So myself, Dr. Nagina Mari. I just want to ask one question.
Yeah,
Hello.
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
please. I'm online.
Yes, sir. Are you
Please.
listening, me, sir?
Yeah. You speak.
Okay,
Time is.
sir. Is it essential to add a little bit information regarding to the coronavirus in school curriculum, as well as in social science curriculum? And if you are saying yes, then how it should be included in curriculum because the also students are facing some problems regarding to the coronavirus.
Yes. Let me explain. I have suggested to my university to introduce one paper on disaster management, because nowadays disaster is intensifying across the world, because actually this is a change of the world to some other world. World is now changing, so disasters are coming.
Yes.
See, in Bengal there is one disaster which is now coming on the way. What is the matter? Coronavirus is disaster is important in the course curriculum at 10 plus 2 at least. Why? Because from high school level, some fundamental level of disaster can be taught to students, but intermediate people are very much have understand the subject. So you introduce a curriculum of disaster management in which all type of biological disasters and then environmental disasters, chemical disasters, war gases, and the nuclear disaster. These are all kind of disasters. And if you think about disaster management, then you will be having a very deep sense of knowledge that we people are not much aware about disaster management. Many of us don't know what is disaster management and what kind of what kind of components are involved in the study of disaster. So disaster management, you talk to your school, you talk to your principal, you talk to your team, and have a committee to formulate a course which is have to be unified. All the MSc students who are going to get the degree must have to qualify the course of disaster management.
Yes.
Or PhD, those who are doing PhD have to, because ultimately we are producing the intellectuals to our nation, and intellectuals are, if intellectuals are not well versed in disaster management, they are in school. For example, you are in school, I am in school. I am in school. If we don't know disaster and disaster is coming, how we will save our students? How we will save our staff? How we will save our police? So disaster management is very important.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, please connect, because time is not much.
Sir, one question from the participant, that we can apply hand sanitizer on the surface of metal or any material.
Yeah, you can apply hand sanitizer on the surface of metal. When you spray after a few times, after 33 seconds, it will be sanitized and alcohol will be evaporated. Then you can use. But good is to expose the steel material, steel surface in lukewarm water for some 5 minutes with some pinch of alum. That is very good thing, what I know.
I think we have completed with the question session. One question from sir: do we have to keep no, there is no question. Vikas sir, now we can conclude the session.
Okay. Thank you, Ankur. Thank you, sir. Thank you. At the last, I would like to say hello. At the last, I would like to thank Professor ZAIDI and all other members who have joined the meeting. Good day.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.